You can order the rear brake caliper used in the video on CarParts.com via the link in the description. Turn off your vehicle's ignition. Set the parking brake. Pull on the hood release handle and open the hood. Open the brake fluid reservoir. Loosen the wheel lug nuts on the rear wheels. Lift the rear of your vehicle. We strongly suggest watching our video on how to jack your Nissan Altima safely before carrying out this step. Place the vehicle on the jack stands. In order to change the rear brake calipers on your vehicle, you will need to take off the wheels to have full access. Don't forget to put the wheels under the vehicle. It is now necessary to release the parking brake in order to clear the grip of the drum brake shoes on the disc. Insert a flathead screwdriver to the outer extremity of the oblong hole located on the front of the brake caliper. Lift it off using the screwdriver as a lever by pulling it towards you. This will cause the piston to retract slightly so that the caliper can be removed more easily for the next steps. Sometimes this is not enough to remove the disc. You will have to remove the shutter cover located on the disc with a flathead screwdriver. You can now reach the adjustment mechanism of the brake shoes and retract the brake shoes until the disc is free. With a ratchet and a 14mm socket, unscrew the slide pins. You can now remove the caliper and set it down so as to not pull on the rear brake hose. Remove the brake pads. Using a 19mm wrench, unscrew the two holding bolts on the caliper mount. Depending on the state of the bolts on the caliper mount, it may be necessary to use a hammer to loosen them. Remove the caliper mount. At this point, you can also replace the parking brake shoes and the discs if you decide to change them as we have done in the video. To do so, we recommend watching our video, How to Replace the Parking Brake Shoes Nissan Altima. You can order the rear brake caliper used in the video on CarParts.com via the link in the description. Get the new assembly and unscrew the slide pins. You can now remove the caliper. Take the new caliper mount. Reassemble the caliper mount by screwing first by hand. Then with a 19mm wrench to lock them in place. Finish tightening using a torque wrench. Place a container to collect the fluid under the caliper since the brake fluid may leak out. Using a ratchet and an 11mm socket, unscrew the Banjo screw connecting the hose to the caliper. It can sometimes be hard to unscrew. It's also recommended to loosen it before removing the caliper. Finish unscrewing by hand. Next, separate the brake hose from the caliper. Remove the copper gasket from the Banjo screw. Here's a tip. You can limit brake fluid leakage during this operation by plugging both sides of the Banjo screw with Banjo shutter pliers. If you're not replacing the hose, clean the hose and caliper with brake cleaner and a paper towel. Don't forget to clean the nearby parts with brake cleaner to remove all traces of brake fluid. Hey, it's Alex from CarParts.com. For great content, our best price, and fast shipping, download the CarParts.com app now. Get the caliper. Place it on the rear control arm. Remove the old copper gasket from the Banjo screw. Get the new copper gaskets. Put a seal on the Banjo screw and install the assembly on the hose. Then put the second seal on the Banjo screw. The hose has a locating piece that holds it in place in the caliper once tightened. Screw the Banjo screw that connects the brake hose to the caliper back in. Using brake cleaner and paper towels, clean the contact surface between the brake caliper and the brake hose. Grab the new pads and lightly coat the ends with copper grease to help them slide more easily. Insert the new pads into the caliper mount by sliding them in. Put the brake caliper back in place and screw in the slide pins by hand at first. Lubricate the slide pins with silicone grease to facilitate sliding. Screw them in using a socket wrench and a 13mm socket. Finish tightening using a torque wrench. Finish tightening the Banjo screw with a torque wrench. When replacing the brake caliper, you need to bleed the brake fluid system to remove air from the system. To do this, we suggest watching our video, How to Bleed the Brake Fluid System Nissan Altima. After bleeding, remember to clean the caliper disc assembly with brake cleaner. Then you will be able to put the wheels back on your vehicle. Put the car back on the ground and block the wheels properly. Don't forget to screw the brake fluid cap back on before starting the car. Attention! Before using your vehicle again, start your car and pump the brake pedal a few times to push the brake pads together again. Try to drive smoothly and avoid sudden braking for the first 30 miles or so to avoid glazing the new pads. Operation complete.